Mo- okay, vi har lyd. Hello and welcome to the artist talk with Hasan Daraghmeh as part of Trondheim Open. Is the sound okay for everyone? You can hear me at the back? Yeah. Okay, so we are Anna and Azra. Azra over there, Anna. We produce the podcast Anna og Azra bretter opp ermene. And we are very happy to be here tonight talking to Hasan about his art and especially about this year's festival theme, that is production. But first of all, it's a strange... well, first of all, welcome, Hasan.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here.
How are you feeling today? We were thinking we were going to ask you about, that we would have some kind of clarity about the world today, but it's still chaos. So, how are you? Did you stay up all night watching the elections?
Yeah, I think I'm okay today, and the same yesterday, and I was a bit up, but not like for the election. Of course, I'm interested, but I was watching the Champions League.
Yeah.
That's why I stayed up a bit.
Well, the world is falling apart, but you just watched Champions League.
Yeah.
They're still playing football.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, it's just like to turn off a bit.
So that we might all have to watch more football in the years
or
to
not.
come. Or not. What about you, Azra?
Well, I said to Hasan before we came in, I'm actually a A-type person, so I like to go to the bed early and wake up early. But last night I was up until 1:30 after midnight, and I woke up 5:30 this morning, and I was like, what happened? What happened? Like, is there a war in the world? And it's like... I've been through the war in my life before, and we have talked about the war before. Yeah, I'm from Bosnia and everything. So I was like, I'm still like a little bit shaky, and I just want to the world to go back to normal, and I want to be rid of this guy, as we call him, this guy.
This guy.
So shall I continue, or shall we?
No, I think we'll just leave the elections and let this be a safe space for today.
Okay,
for everyone.
We can come back to it.
Or we'll come back to it. Probably that's what's going to happen. But first of all, Hasan, can you start by giving a short introduction of yourself and some of your your work?
Yeah. I'm Hasan Daraghmeh. I'm a Palestinian artist based and works here in Trondheim. I have my studio at Truthful Kunstner Collective. And I work mainly with video, photography and prints. I can say that I'm a lens-based artist. I do everything based on lens or camera. Mm. And I work with different kind of topics, let's say memory, architecture, public space, and moving image, and the materiality of the moving image and the image itself.
Let's just start with lens-based artist. What is the lens-based artist?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I think like most of my or all of my works, it's like through cameras. Like when I talk about topics, I use cameras to look at these topics, and this is kind of the middle space between the subject and the audience, and there where I work mainly with producing, processing, and all of this process that I do to produce work. But I can say like I look at the world or the reality through the camera. This is the main thing. I see the world around me.
Was this how you started out, or did you start out with other media as well?
No, I mean like I started out with this because this was like my first bachelor study, which is media studies, and from there I get really interested in this a medium, which is the image. It's like magic, and I mean like nowadays we are living out of images. Like for example, when we go to an exhibition or things like that, we just like took our phones and taking pictures, and then we look back at this. But usually it's like this, how we live or building our way of looking at world in different ways. Yeah.
But when you say images, but what is different between like images like this, like images who are like drawn, or images like through the lens, through the camera?
Oh yeah, it's like we say like about there's a long history about the image, which is start from photography, let's say, before, and it's related of how the whole art world is developed from like painting, and then they used like some kind of techniques to start drawing, and then this process it have developed during the history to what we call it analog photography, which we use like a kind of a device that reflected on, let's say, a chemical in the beginning, and this thing it have developed between like still images to a moving images, and it's still this is in the analog way. And then it have been developed, let's say, in 1957, when it was like the first, what we call it now, digital image, which related to pixels. Yeah, that's what I know about the medium itself, and now it's everyone have an access.
Do you remember
cameras.
your first camera?
Yes, I remember my first camera. My first camera was like this analog camera, which you buy like a film, you put it in the camera, you take a picture, and then after you took the pictures, you send it to a lab, it developing all of the negative, and then you get like this printed pictures of your moments.
How old were you? Were you a youth or were you a child? How old approximately when you got that?
That was a long time ago. I think
we are not talking about the age.
yeah, but I think I was like maybe 10, 11 years old with my first camera. But at that time, I wasn't thinking that I will be an artist.
Yeah,
I was like thinking to be something else.
But do you remember, because I remember that the feeling that every picture was a little bit more precious. Like you had to think about before you pushed the button,
yeah, I mean, like,
because you only had a certain amount of images on each film, and it cost money to send it. And
yeah, it's totally different way of thinking at that time than the time we're thinking about images nowadays, because it's easy to take an image, it's easy to share it on social media or like other kind of forms. It's kind of like you don't think about image in the way how you think about it in an analog way. But this is kind of like I'm not working that much with analog because it's costing a lot and it's like a longer process. And nowadays I'm mainly working with digital, and that's like main topic that I work on and part of my research or part of my works. Yeah.
What separate your work, like your artistic work, from not that photo? This is maybe I'm responsible for the stupid question in this podcast, so I will ask a stupid question. What is the what does make your work art on and not just a photo? If you understand.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a big question. I don't have an answer for it because question, like it's a debate of who can decide this is art and this is not art in a way, and I don't have really an answer
but there is
for this question.
There is something like in this technical work that you do that also is different from just taking a picture, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, like for example, like when I'm working in my practice, I have let's say like three directions, okay? And this practice based on research practice, which is started, let's say, when I start my second bachelor in fine art in the International Art Academy back in Palestine. And then I was really interested of like the medium itself as a moving image and what kind of possibilities you can take or produce ways of looking at world from that medium in a way. And then the things that developed during that time till now in a way. And I can say like my main concern or my main question is about like nowadays we live in a digital era, and everything consists of images, and these images, it's like the base material of these images. It's consists of pixels, and these pixels, it's kind of a light exposed on a sensor, and the sensor is like a grid of a certain kind of or like a certain amount of pixels, and that's kind of, let's say, shape or like giving the quality of the image. I'm really interested in this kind of way of thinking in the image, not just like that I can take an image and this image is nice or not nice or whatever. I'm thinking about how you can go inside the camera and thinking about all of this functionality of the camera and how the camera is working. And through that, you can kind of reshape the way of looking at things, of course, and then you can address the topics that I'm interested in, which, as I said, like memory, place, landscape, and different kind of topics, public space, and related to this.
Like a manipulation, or like?
It's very interesting. Like some people, they look at what I do as a manipulation of the image in a way, but it could be, I don't know if I look at it in that way, rather than like I'm going inside this device and rebuild or refunction that device to kind of produce a new way of looking at what we call it reality.
Is it some kind of reference to our inner process, like of being human beings, like with our thoughts and with our feelings, and how do we perceive the world? How do we, like perception in itself, if you understand? Is it like?
I mean, like that's the thing, because now mainly we are demanding on images, because we kind of perceiving everything around us from images, and these images we get it from social media or some other platforms, and that's the way how we kind of build our way of looking at the surrounding in a way.
The way of looking, that's the very important topic for like back to this USA election and world is falling apart, because we asked you if your work, like I at least are very when I talk to artists, one of my first questions is your work political? What do you have? How is your work like related to the world we live today, or is it just like so in a sense, what do you think about that? Because when we are talking about how do we perceive world, what do we see, what we take in, and what is like to be reflected and conscious about our way of seeing, I look at that like in relation to the world and to the political state we are in.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I can say like I work. My works is political, and I cannot say that it's not political, because at the same time everything is political at these days, because the world is open. There is no, like you can immediately know what's going on in the other part of the world. There is no any borders with all of this technological development, or like what we call it, the globalization. So I think. And I mean, like, that's a very interesting to me, because I came from a place where is it a political place, and the expectation of the people all the time to see something political. And when I say political in this frame or in this way, I'm saying about like they expecting to see a certain kind of images from a person that will come from that area. And that's a bit challenging for me, because like I don't work in that kind of a direct political way, let's say, because my works can communicate for anyone. It doesn't matter what kind of political background have. And that's part of, to come back to the theme of the Trondheim Open, part of the production, because let's say, as I said before, like to come back to this theme, my process of doing my works is like, it's not like, okay, oh, now I got an idea, let's do this idea. No, I have like really a long-term research, which is related, as I said before, it's related to the way of seeing, related to the image, the materiality of the image itself, and all of the layers of it. And when I produce a work in my studio, because let's say it like that, I'm a studio-based artist, which I produce my art in the studio, okay? And there is a lot of a process. The process related to how I do the work. And when I'm doing the work, it's like, it's many layers, because I don't do the work based on like, okay, that's how I feel, or that's how I need to express myself. There's many layers, because I need, as an artist, to think about the audience, the space where the work it will be exhibited. Because when I'm in my studio, that's a one stage, and then when the work going from my studio to an exhibition space, there will be, I will lose the control of it. But then there is an audience coming from a different backgrounds and different, I don't know, way of thinking. And that moment or that place in between my work, when it's going out of my studio to the audience, it's very important place for me to think about how I want to communicate with the audience. And this is something I think about it during the process of producing the work, because for me, I need to open doors for the audience. I don't need, I'm not there all the time to explain for the audience what I want to talk about. With my works, or most of it, I open these doors for the audience. They can come, they can like enter the work. Maybe they went to throw the layers, they think throw it, or then maybe they get like just a first impression and then they leave. They don't want to stand in front of it for longer. For this is kind of a layers that I think about it during producing work. And to come to that question of political, that's the thing when the audience, knowing that you are from a certain place, they have a certain kind of an expectation. And that's expectation when it's like encounter with the work and the work not matching their expectation. For me, that's a very interesting moment, because it's very challenging, because you challenge a way of thinking, and that's.
People like read things into. Do you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. I think people read things into your works that are not really there because they know your background.
I think maybe, yeah, it could be, because one of the things that I put it on the back of my mind when I produce, I all the time think that the audience, they are really smart. And of course, and that's one of the things that all the time building the work based on it's open. Like it's open, you can take it anywhere you want it. You can look at it in many directions. If you want to read the political, it could be there is a political inside it. Or there's different kind of intellectual way of thinking. I don't know, it's depends on the audience themselves and how this work will.
I have to be honest about that topic, what we are talking about. And I first of all, I would like to thank you for that, because it really made me think and reflect of my own holding. I don't know.
Attitudes or
Attitude.
I got sound.
Oh.
Yeah,
because I one part of me is like, because I'm myself I'm from Bosnia and I'm a Muslim, and I went through the war, came to the north. I'm not going to take all my story. It's not about me, but anyway. Then when I heard that I met you maybe last year, and we talked about, and I was like, I had this expectation, as you said, that now we are bonding on this thing, like you're from Palestine, and not that we are not bonding on that, but it really made me like think of my own expectations and thoughts about what I'm thinking that maybe you should do as an artist, if you understand. And it made me like ask.
Clashing with
Yeah,
yourself.
it did, and it's really interesting. It's like it's
No,
about
but I mean that's kind of let's say a frame of like in general we have like this kind of frames about each culture or about each other in a way. And that's, for me, it's a very interesting topic, that how much we can like breaking these frames and try to see each other without of the ready images, okay? And that's part of what I do in my practice, which I question this because all the time we have images about each other and we frame each other, putting each other in boxes. But what if we open these boxes and we look at things without these frames, okay? And but one of the things that is very interesting for me about this topic, when I moved to Norway in 2014, and I moved here to do my master in fine art, which was like, this is my first master before I moved here. It was in Oslo. And they were like a friend of mine. We were in the same class. She's Finnish, and she worked with, let's say, immigrants issue and topic. We had one day kind of a group exhibition, and she had her work, which she brought a tent, and inside the tent it was like a screen or a TV with a video about immigrants talking. And then I had something totally else. I had like large scale prints, 2 prints, and it's 2 images of landscape. For then another friend, she came and she told me, yeah, your work is really nice and I like the tent and I like the video. And I was just like, okay, really? It's not my work. Really? I thought it's your work. I was just like, okay, but unfortunately, it's not my work. My work, it was like the other one. And she said, oh, yeah, but didn't connect it to you, that work. But it was like really a hint, a very interesting
She was like,
hint.
it should be your work.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, but that's something really interesting. But for me, to come back in general, like, it's very interesting to me of like this moment when you are not fitting the expectation of the people, and then you are on the other side, let's say, or whatever. I don't think I do a political art in a direct way, let's say, but at the same time, I think everything around us is political. Nothing not political.
And if we go,
I have a sentence about this, like, I don't remember who said this, but it's very nice for me, this sentence, which says like, political art is a bad art and good art is a political art. So I think that's maybe fit what I do. If people think what I do is good, I don't know. But yeah, I think that's maybe says something about my political art.
But maybe, if we just take a step back from this political, it's also something about identity, like that we are like, how does it, like, not that we don't have to go into that so deep about identity and your work and how, like, where in the world are you, like, you are in Trondheim and making your artwork here, but how do you relate to the community and to the
I think like in terms of identity, okay, at certain level you are connected to a place, but sometimes this, let's say, local identity or a nation identity, which is related to a geographical place or a place that you grow up, And then when you travel and when you are in a different culture with a different identity, with a different way of thinking, I think that's a very, for me, it's a very interesting experience, a very important experience, which it gives you a different way of looking at yourself first and the world at the same time, you know? Because I cannot look at myself from the place I came from, you know, because that place, it have its own problems with everything, political, economical, social, whatever, you know, but how much you can be open to the new things. Like I'm here in Trondheim, I moved here since 2016, I work, I live here, I have a life here, I have a career here, and that's like really a fantastic thing. It shaped me at certain levels or in many ways, in my practice, my personality, and the way how I look at things around me, you know. And yeah, but I cannot like look at myself here based on the lens that I was looking at myself at back in Palestine.
So it's about actually it's about here and like right here and right now. What's happening?
I mean, like it's very mixed, you know. It's
Yeah, because
like,
your work is about memory in like in general.
Yeah, but memory. When I think about memory, there is like two layers of memory, which is the individual memory, which is my memory. It's like my memory of childhood and all of these things. My memory of the place that I lived in, and then there's a collective memory which I'm part of it, you know. But here I have a different individual, or like individual memory, and I'm part of a collective memory that I haven't grown up here to know it. But then like you get to understand it, you get like to benefit out of it. You make this kind of an exchange, and that's where you open, because I think one of the very interesting sentence about this identity thing, that the identity is where you born in a way, but then you can build it where you live, you know, you can expand it. You cannot like all the time being inside one way of looking at things.
Is that
you know?
something that you take into your work?
I mean, everything, my daily life here, my background, everything, it's like connected, you know, because I cannot like separate and saying I have like a cut with my past and then I'm starting new, you know, things getting inside each other and it's affecting. But like, for example, like living here in Trondheim, I totally have a different rhythm. It's affecting my way of looking at things. It's affecting the way how I produce art, being inside this art scene and culture scene in Trondheim. It's something for me, it's really interesting and fantastic because like it's added a lot to me. And I hope
how concrete, has it changed your art moving here?
It's you cannot like say changed my art,
or
like I
cannot. No, you say it, but I cannot say it. That it's changed. It's shaped a bit because what I'm doing here, it's like not separated of the art scene. You get like affected, which is really interesting because I'm not like closing myself to what just I do. No, I just like go to exhibitions. I get influenced from exhibitions, from my other colleague, from the artist in the town or in the city, you know. You see, and that kind of input is kind of either if you are conscious or unconscious about it, it's like affecting, you know. And I have my daily life here. I'm part of this, like, you know, do my own stuff here. Like I wake up in the morning, I go to the studio, I'm part of a collective, you know. That's kind of affecting
because
my
this
practice.
this is about production, and you talked a little bit about in the start as well. But how is your a typical day, if we go back to the basics? Like, do you do the same things every day? Is it important for you to kind of go to your studio at a certain time, to be there, and do you have these routines that are important to you?
Recently I have this kind of routine which I do things like in a repetitive way, and that's of course like happened let's say, with my last work, which called The Door, which is about repetition and about this routine. And it's not because of the city, it's because of what all, as a human, we get affected by this COVID or Corona time, because it's kind of limited us in the way how we are moving, you know. That kind of thing make me thinking about like my daily life and what you said about if I having this routine. It's kind because you forget about it. You wake up in the morning, you forget that you wake up, or maybe you think about it at once, but then like you forget that you are going out of the bed, you know, and because you do it in a daily time or a daily base, let's say. And that work like kind of make me thinking about this, like when we write, sometimes we don't think about the action of writing itself. We think about what we are writing, you know. So that's the moment it give me make me stop a bit and thinking about the action itself, that we have it as
That's
a daily
just the example with the writing. I feel like that's something that we are thinking a little bit more about, because we use the computers and we write on the computers, and it's totally different to write with lots of people are saying I forgot how it feels like to write with the hand. So there's something with this also, with this technological thing that making us move away from things. Like it's not about repeating, but
but I can just like say another thing about the production or the process. As I mentioned in the beginning, nowadays I'm part of a residency which is called P1 Atelier, which is located at Tiller and Sopstad, and Tiller School, and this project is part of Tent House, or like one of the projects of Tent House Oslo. And I have this chance, and it was really very interesting to look about how we are me as an artist producing work. My practice is based like studio-based practice. I do think in the studio I don't work with other collaboration, let's say, but this thing is a bit like making a shift in the way how I'm thinking, because all the time we produce art, we exhibit it. Of course, some of us thinking, or most of us thinking about the audience, how they look. But I haven't had the experience of working with with students. You know, it's just like passing a bit of my practice or my experience to a student that they have a different opinion about art.
Yeah, so just to understand, you work with the students from Tiller videregående skole?
Yes, I had with them a workshop as part of the residency, because the theme of the residency is just like, it's a very interesting frame, because they, instead of taking the students from the school to the museum or to gallery exhibitions, and then they don't meet the artist, they meet the artwork. And that's different than meeting an artist, because they have an image about the artist or artist in a way. And this image, it's sometimes not matching to come back to the image of what expectation. And the thing is just they have this theme of bringing the artist to the school, and then having this collaboration, or like opening a channel with the school to meet, like for the student to meet the artist.
But the students come to your space, not otherwise. You're not in the school.
The space, it's in the school. It's or like
it's
in
the front of the school.
Front yard of the school. Almost you are at their place or in their house. Let's say. That was like okay, but for me, like how I should like, you know, collaborate or doing something that engaging this student to look at art in a different perspective than like artist lives in his bubble or whatever. So it was a bit challenging for me to shifting from an individual practice to work with the students and to connect my practice to what I'm going to do.
Does the teaching also affect you in your art?
I think, yeah, of course, I feel like it's affecting the way how I'm thinking about what I'm doing in my studio, which is that's my routine, a daily routine. For the thing that I had to build a workshop to engage the student, and the workshop it's supposed to be related to the topics that I'm working with. As I said, like, I'm really interested in the digital image and the materiality of the image itself. And then I'm thinking about, like, I went through all of the development of photography from analog, because it's part of my study, till the digital thing. And nowadays, because they are between like 14 to 17 years old, and for them, they know photography through their cell phones, you
and
know?
it's a scary group, like at this age, 14 to 17, the scary people.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I think so.
they are really friendly. I was happy to work with them. They were very excited, you know. And this is something about building a mechanisms of how to passing a knowledge to these students, because I'm lucky because the school, they have like this system, which is there's 3 years before you decide to go to the university, and they have a program which is media studies, where they teach them about photography, they teach them about illustration, animation, and some other, things. So it was really nice for me. Okay, that's a very nice entrance to go and make them thinking beyond that. Photography is just like a press, you know.
Is it important for you that your work like relate to the most of the people, or is it like the people who are not interested in this, they don't have to come and look at this at all? Like just leave it to be for people who actually are interested in art, or because when you talk about the work with the young people and to discover these things, then I hear that like it's important for you to communicate with also with the people who are not like in that milieu.
Yeah. I mean, like, a basic thing for me as an artist is ask myself that question: why I'm doing this,
And why are you doing it?
And how I do it. This is another question. Of course, as an artist, I have an idea, and then I have the medium itself, which is the art or the frame as an art, and it's a way of communicating, you know. It's me as an artist, the way how I'm thinking. I'm lucky I have this frame, which is called art, and then this frame can be, through it, I can communicate with others. And I think that's a basic thing, because we are, as a human, we need to communicate, you know. Either we communicate with words, or we communicate, I don't know, with different ways. We find ways. And I think art, it's one of the ways to communicate with each other. And I think that's, for me, where I start, you know. I want to communicate with people, and this is the frame I like to communicate with people through, you know. And then it's, okay, this frame, it could be complicated. You use many forms. You use maybe photography, sculpture, painting, different techniques, but it's art.
But lots of people are scared of like not understanding the art. So like there is like a small like at the point you say art, it's like, oh, I don't understand it, and then I'm stupid, and then you are like this big artist, or people who know art, because you are like don't understand.
No, I think like people should not like be scared from artists.
No,
you know,
I don't
artists,
think so either.
They are
They
very
should, but they
friendly.
are.
They are very friendly people, really. They do their best to make something for people, or to express themselves, or to expose some kind of topics that society needs, or, you know. And through the history of art, it's all of this technology that we are using nowadays, it came from artists, you know. But it's very interesting, because we were talking about that you will have a certain line, and Azra, she will like jumping, and I was saying that maybe Azra, she will take us to the north, and I'm taking the train to the south, but to come to you here, related to what I was talking about, to this workshop. The point, it was like to just like make them make the student in this workshop to think beyond that finger, like pressing a button and then taking pictures and then upload it or send it to their friends. It's just like to take them a bit beyond that and make them thinking about the basic elements of photography, which is light, and that's the main thing. That's why I decided to do a workshop with them about the photography and pinhole photography, which is the very basic thing. It's just like a box and then a hole in the middle of it, and then there is a sensitive photo paper, and then the light is coming and then it's exposing and then going to the dark room, developing the paper, and then they get the picture. Just like taking them to this basic way of thinking about image.
And just slowing it down in a way.
Yeah, it's just like, taking them inside the camera, inside their cell phone cameras, and make them thinking about, this is how it's function, but with your digital camera, it's function the same way, but like with more electronic thing, because like when you think about digital image, it's a grid and exposed inside it like pixels, and these pixels using a method of colors which called RGB and all of these things. And I don't know how much they are involved on this, but at least like making them going inside the camera, thinking about the light as a material, not just like about a press or like you press a button, and then make them thinking about time, because that's the most important aspect, because they need to sense the time when they take, or like taking the shutter of the camera, and then they are not seeing what's the result, and then they will go to the dark room. And then it was very interesting to me the moment when they put the photos in the chemical, which is first thing they put it's called developer, which is developing the chemical on the paper, and then the pictures start like exposed, and for them like, wow, it's really magic. It's just like take them to that level, and I'm sure it makes them at certain point thinking about the picture that they are taking in a different way.
It's like a backwards revolution, like when we discovered the digital way of doing it. We went like, wow, and now they're going, wow, it's magic.
I'm also interested if you are, while you're talking about young people and these technical things that they are learning, do you feel like, I don't know how old you are because you don't want to tell us how old you are.
By the way,
you're like 80 or something?
No, next week maybe it's my birthday.
Okay, no, but I'm like interested, do their way of using technology and the world, because I'm thinking that today with the young people and the media and the camera, they're like using it in this really awful way also, like to this violence, and they are like filming each other, beating each other up, and it's like and utfordringer, how challenge there's lots of violence in this with the camera, and then they like have this idea that it's happening there, it's not their own life, and then suddenly like we are working with these young people and telling them, wow, when you do that, when you make film movie of somebody is getting hurt, then you're actually responsible for that. And that there is some kind of relation to this technology and to the camera that is not like our generation used to. Do their way of using this medium?
I think they are smart, or like each generation with each device, they developed a certain kind of language, and they have their own language in the way how they used images without thinking. My point was like to make them thinking about the process.
But do you learn something from them?
To use it.
Do you learn something from them, and from do you learn something from them, from their way of?
I mean, like all the time we learn from everything, and of course I learned from them. But the way, or like what you talked about, I think I'm not in that part of exploring things, rather than just I'm trying to make them think through the medium, not the way how they use it, but I mean like each product, it creates its own language, whatever, like a camera, a print, chair, whatever. It's people, they will use it in a different way. They look at it in a different ways. But my point was just like to tell them, or like to make them think beyond that. If you want tomato, you go to Rematosen, but you don't think what's behind Rematosen. I'm not making an ad for Rematosen. It's just like to take
You
them.
just did.
You can edit it, I think.
Why not Bunnpris?
No, but but that's the closest shop I buy from. But the thing is just like to make them think beyond that there is a process before the tomato it came there, or like come to that shop, and then you go, you buy it, and you eat it. You know, it's just like a bit shaking this. But it's really interesting for me because the workshop was really nice, successful, and now they ask me to do another workshop, and they want like there is 13 students who signed up for this, which is like,
so it's like special interest, like students that are interested in.
Yeah, I mean, like because they saw what happened in the workshop before, you know. Why I'm talking about this workshop is about, first of all, it's about a different way of thinking about my practice, to send this or part of what I'm doing to the students. And the other thing is just like this moment when you are, as an artist, meeting the audience in a different frame than the exhibition. There's different kind of a relationship which will be built, because in the beginning they had this idea, I'm an artist, I'm just like, you know, this beret thing. You know, there's either a typical image.
I know him.
A typical image about what's an artist, you know? It's like either in every culture have the same kind of artist. They are living in a different galaxy or like planet.
But let me continue then in the stereotypical kind of artist thought here. We're going to round up very soon, and we can also take some questions if anyone has at the end. But back to ideas and how you work, and well, the production theme. What do you need to be working? I mean, you need a space, obviously, and you need time and probably money.
Yes.
But apart from that,
I do it without money.
how do you? Are you a person who's? Do you always have ideas and find it easy to find projects?
I mean, for me, ideas, it's everywhere. Like when I walk from home to the shop to buy stuff, there is a lot of ideas sometimes.
And do you see the finished work? Like, do you have a mental picture of what?
Not really. I enjoy doing things as a process, and then not taking. Sometimes some works take me to a different direction without like having a control that I want this work to go to that direction. That will be the final way of looking for the work, you know, because there's many layers. You do this process and you think about it to produce a work. You don't know exactly how it will end and which kind of form it will end, but with my practice it will end up either like video or prints or photography. And then you think about another layer, which is like a white cube, and this is a different kind of topic, and that how is your work will be presented in a white cube, you know, that's a different way of thinking, which is another stage. And then, yeah, as I said before, like the audience for me is the most important, and all the time I'm trying to do things easy for the audience to access, and then when they access the front page, then they can go to a different layers and finding or discussing or looking at topics we were talking about, political, economical, social.
And you said it's important for you to communicate with the audience in a way. So do you know exactly, like for each work, what you want maybe not what you want the audience to experience, but do you know what you want to communicate with each?
There's actually right and wrong answer.
Yeah, is there a right and wrong answer?
So let me hear.
I should answer it yes or no. Or
No.
no, I mean like I like when I go see exhibitions or works, not like my work. I like when I look at the work and I see that it's open. It gives me a space to penetrate or like to go through different ideas, not like the artist want to tell me this and this and this. Then I'm, okay, I can go and watch YouTube video, you know. And that's what I try to do with my work, to not like tell people what to feel, what to think, you know. I try to make things open, then they have more chance or more possibilities to look at the work and finding what they want, because it's not really a fixed frame. And that because like really I'm interested in the topic of a frame itself, that how much I can open this frame. And next year I will have my solo exhibition at TIX, which will be a project which is called Timescapes. And this project, it's really long research, and it's related to pixels and a way of seeing, which I'm going to use to just open the frame to the maximum limit.
What do you mean by that? When you say open the frame, in what way?
Yeah,
like
we come here to the technicality. Like when you use a camera, each camera have a fixed frame, okay? And this fixed frame, that means like if we are talking about video, that means like that when you have now HD, 4K, and this HD, it have like a horizontal and vertical lines of pixels, and that's a limitation of the quality and the frame. And then that's the thing. But then you cannot like make really a open frame, and that's one of the things that I'm working on, which is a project that I'm going to use the tram, Trondheim tram, from the first stop to the last stop, which I'm going to film all of this distance between the first stop, the last stop, and then of course I will process it, and then I will produce an image which you can see the whole distance without any rupture at the same time for the whole distance.
How?
Yeah, but that's how. That's a long process, and that's what I'm doing on my studio, and that's what I was explaining. It's about like when you go inside the device itself. Okay. The front page of it, it's like fixed, but then of course you can find a small holes in the fixed frame, and then you reshape things.
So you also challenge the technology and try
of course,
to...
Yeah, I mean like, because that's the way how we look at things. It's technology, it's shaping us how we look at things, you know, it's shaping us how we build our opinion about a certain topic, about everything around us. And that's why I said from the beginning that I'm a lens-based artist, which I see through the camera. And that's to say this, it came from, which is one of my favorite film, was like 1920 something. It's called Man with a Moving Camera, which is a manifesto for Vertov, which he said this manifesto that nowadays we are seeing the world from the camera. Then the camera is the device we see everything around us, because nowadays you don't want to go anywhere. You can just like go to Google Street View. You have an overview about where you're going, and this is based on camera. Now for the camera, it's in between the reality and you. And that's lead me to talk about Michel Foucault with his term heterotopia. It's not utopia or dystopia, it's something in the middle. It's a very interesting term.
And nowadays we have this camera that are turned to us, like with selfie and everything. Like
I mean, like technology is shaping our.
We see ourselves through.
Yeah, but technology is shaping our body language. It's shaping our way of we walk in the streets. You know, because nowadays we have this kind of you know, the
Oh
neck
yeah,
shape,
they did
you know.
research actually. That
Yeah.
Because it's
yeah.
shaping, and I think that's the thing, and now everyone is starting.
And this was like a very dramaturgical, nice.
Yeah.
We started with the lens-based, and we like we were
Wrapping it up.
Yeah.
We're coming back to the start. I think it's a good place to say thank you.
Thank you too.
and,
Thanks for hosting me, really. And
and,
thanks for Trondheim Open for giving me this chance to talk a bit about my practice.
Yeah, thank you to the audience. And if
And
anyone has some questions, we
really
can
thanks for coming, really. I'm so sorry. I'm get into the camera and then I lose myself and I talk about camera.
No, it's and I just want to say it again. I said
Thanks,
it like thank
really.
you for challenging me of my own fordommer. I just look at you every time I don't know
prejudice. I
English.
think it's the right
It's like
word.
Anna fordommer.
Does anyone have any questions? Feel free. Or I'm guessing, Hasan, I'm talking on behalf of you. You're probably you can hang out for 5 minutes if someone wants to talk to you on the way out. So, yeah, one there.
I feel that all efforts you put in, it's about time also. Like a snapshot is a short part of time, as I see it, the word snapshot. And as I see your work, you will work with a new perception of time. That's quite kind of interesting how this perception of time changes also in space and the persons around and the kind of thing. Can you say something about it?
Yeah, I mean, time is one of the elements that I work with, and one of my projects, which will be, I already had part of it exhibited in Kirkenes as part of Parent Spectacle Festival. I don't know if I pronounce it right. Parent Spectacle Festival.
Yeah?
Yes, good.
It's
and the work called Timescapes. And this project, which is the same project that I'm going to do for next year for text with the tram project. And this project, it's about looking at the time, because time is around us, but we don't materialize it at certain point. Maybe in a physics lab, they materialize it, and we feel it because of the changes, the slow changes that we have in our daily life. And but in that project, it was about how we can look at Kirkenes from the future. And for me, it's just make me thinking about the time as the main element, since we talk about the future. And what I have done for that exhibition is a video installation, which was 2 channels, where I filmed in 2 locations in Kirkenes, one from the main library and the other one from the tower of the church tower in Kirkenes. And then what I have done is just like try to give a futuristic perspective to the landscape or the public landscape or like the public space from the image itself. When you look at the video, you will see that you are looking at Kirkenes from, I don't know, the future. And that was like the work related to a theme, and the theme related to time, where the curator, she was trying to change Kirkenes to a Chinatown. And why? Because, to come back to the time, because it's about time in a political, economical way. The Kirkenes, it will be a turning point, or like it will be turned soon, I don't know how many years, because of this new Silk Road. Because now there's the old Silk Road, and now China, they try, because of this climate change and the melting of the ice, but they will take the road from the north, and Kirkenes will be the center of like, or a main port for putting all of these Chinese products and then distribute it to Europe. This kind of like time thing, which sometimes, we know about the topic, but we don't think about it, make me think about all of these changes in a ways, either if it's like in a slow or in a fast way. But of course, all of these changes, it will affect us in our daily life, and of course, it will affect certain kind of locations. Why I'm saying all of this story, I don't know where I start.
I can relate.
Sorry, I just
can
took
relate.
you from here to the north, but of course, because I'm working with this kind of technique, which is technique. It's related to it. This is used with NASA and in the physics labs to study the kind of not the universe, the galaxies, because NASA, it used a certain kind of cameras that it have a huge sensors, and each like pixel, because when we look at the camera or our phone, it's just like a small pixel, and the size of the image, if you print it, maybe it will be 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter. But this kind of a large sensors, that the one pixel in this sensor, it's like, I don't know how many like kilometer, and all of these outer space images, they have like a huge files taken by these sensors, and then it's compressed, and when it's compressed, it's getting the shape of these digital images that we are seeing from the outer space. And that's what they use it either for the kind of physics to study the movement and the time, which is like a method of compressing pixels. And that's why I'm interested in pixels, because it's just like signals. We affected of it every day because we use our laptops, our cell phones, and things like that. But of course, time is very important for my
And
practice.
apropos time, I see Inga looking at
Yes,
us from.
The eye.
Sorry, I told you, like, you should stop me.
No, it's
I know
thank you very much.
myself.
Can we just? I just want you to say the sentences you talked about. Political art. Art is good. What was that?
I mean, like,
Can
it
we-
could
can
be
we-
right, it could be...
Just that sentence.
Yeah,
Hasan.
it's-
just that sentence.
Political art is a bad art. Good art is a political art.
Thank you. That's what really nice
Maybe I
way
can
to.
end it with
Wise
this,
words for today.
yeah.
Thank you again, Hasan.
you
Thank
too.
you, everyone, and thank you, Trondheim.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone, for coming, really. So happy to see you here.